Have you ever imagined that one day, the children you have raised and loved throughout your life could slowly drift away, even ignore you? What would happen if one morning you woke up to realize that the calls were becoming sparse, family dinners were turning silent, and your children's eyes no longer shone with the same respect as before? It's painful, isn't it? A pain that is not just loneliness, but a feeling of being abandoned, being taken lightly, as if the years of sacrifice you made are now just a faded memory in their minds. You used to be the center of your children's world, but now it seems you are just a small part of their busy schedules. But here is the most important thing. This does not define you. Being forgotten or disrespected does not speak to your worth. And you are not powerless in this situation. If your children no longer treat you with the respect they once did, you do not need to beg. You do not need to change yourself to please anyone. Instead, there is a wiser, stronger way to face this, a way that allows you to regain your self-esteem, your peace, and even the respect from those around you. Stay calm, stay strong, and do this. No one prepares you for this feeling. You have dedicated your entire life to raising your children, loving them unconditionally, doing everything you can to provide them with a better life. You have stayed up late when they were sick, sacrificed your sleep worrying about their future, and were ready to put your own needs second just to ensure that they had the best of everything. Yet now, as you grow older, as your hair turns gray and wrinkles appear on your face, the children who once held your hand so tightly are now distant. Conversations become shorter, messages go unanswered, and hugs gradually turn into half-hearted pats on the back. They may not mean to, but it is clear that they no longer care for you as they did before. The pain lies not only in the distance they create, but also in how they look at you, or no longer look at you as they once did. In the past, in their eyes, you were a hero, someone who could solve any problem, a solid pillar. But now, they may see you as an old person, outdated, no longer having enough influence in their lives. This feeling is truly heartbreaking. It makes you wonder, what did I do wrong? Is it because I was too protective? Or is it because I am no longer important in their lives? You start to doubt yourself, asking whether the years of sacrifice are truly appreciated, or if they are just taken for granted and never truly understood. You are not alone in this feeling. There are millions of parents out there who are experiencing the same thing. The feeling of looking at the children you once loved unconditionally, who now feel painfully foreign. But remember, this situation does not reflect your worth. And more importantly, you are not powerless in the face of it. Take a moment to pause and take a deep breath. What is happening does not mean that you have failed as a parent. It also doesn't mean that you are no longer valuable or unworthy of love. The truth is, life changes, and so do your children. They grow up, enter new stages with increasing responsibilities, work, family, social pressures. Sometimes, they are too busy to realize that their distance is hurting you. Sometimes, they are not intentionally ignoring you. They are simply caught up in the flow of life. But here is the most important thing. The love and sacrifices you've given them never lose their value. Whether they realize it now or not, what you've done, the lessons you've taught, and the moments you've shared will always be a part of their lives. You don't need anyone's acknowledgement to know that you have lived a meaningful life. You are still yourself, a valuable person, with experiences and treasured lessons that no one can take away. No indifferent gaze can overshadow the years you have dedicated. No cold words can diminish your dignity. So, instead of questioning yourself, instead of letting pain and disappointment overwhelm you, remember that you don't need someone to confirm your worth. You are stronger than you think. You deserve respect, not because you demand it, but because you have lived a life worthy of respect. And if your children have not realized this, it does not mean you are inadequate. It simply means they have not matured enough to understand. As time goes by, all relationships change, including the feelings between parents and children. When they are young, they cling to you, seeking your comfort, guidance, and protection. But then they grow up, have their own lives, responsibilities, and pressures that you may have never experienced. This change doesn't happen instantly. It occurs gradually, bit by bit, until one day you realize the distance has become too great. You may notice that they spend more time on work, with their partners, and with their own children, but less time with you. Conversations no longer last for hours as before, inquiries become less frequent, and meetings turn into rare appointments that must be arranged weeks in advance. Sometimes you feel like you have been pushed aside, as if the relationship between you and your child is now just a minor part of their to-do list. But remember, this does not mean they no longer love you. It simply means that the focus of their lives has changed. When they were young, their world revolved around you. But as they grow up, they are forced to broaden that world to include more responsibilities. And there is one important thing that many parents often forget. Your children do not go through life in the same way you did. They face different challenges, different pressures, and different social expectations. They may be struggling with their own issues that you are unaware of. Therefore, their distance is not a betrayal, nor a sign that you are no longer important. It is just a part of the natural order of life. But no matter how much the relationship changes, you still have the right to control how you respond to it. You can choose to let the pain overwhelm you, or you can choose to move forward with your own calmness, self-respect, and wisdom. When children gradually grow distant or lack respect, the first reaction of many parents is sadness, anger, or even trying to hold on to the relationship at all costs. But the truth is, the more you react emotionally, the further you push them away. The feeling of abandonment may make you want to demand attention, to blame, to question why they no longer treat you as before. But these things don't change the situation. They only make you feel more hurt. So, what is the wisest way to respond? First, stay calm. No one can control how others treat them, but you can always control how you respond. When you maintain your composure, you not only protect your self-esteem but also make others regard you with respect. Being calm doesn't mean accepting being overlooked. It means you don't let negative emotions overpower your reason. Second, don't chase after recognition. Affection cannot be forced, and respect cannot be begged for. If your children do not actively express love or respect, allow them to realize it themselves. You don't need to remind them or try to please them in hopes of gaining attention. Instead, focus on living a life worthy of respect. Third, set clear boundaries. If you feel treated unfairly or disrespectfully, you have the right to speak up, but do so skillfully. Don't let anger lead you to say bitter words. Communicate calmly and decisively. Tell your children how you feel, but don't pressure them to change immediately. Sincere, gentle, yet firm words will have a greater impact than any reproachful remarks. Lastly, value yourself. Respect doesn't come from demanding it, but from the way you live. When you live with self-respect, maturity, and calmness, those around you will gradually recognize your value. And if your children don't see that now, let time teach them that lesson. Because one day, when they reach your age, they will understand. It is time for you to stop seeking validation from anyone, including your children. Your worth is not determined by how many times they call, how many times they check in, or the level of care they show you. Your worth is built from a lifetime of effort, experience, strength, and compassion that no one can take away. It is understandable to expect respect from others, but if you let your self-esteem depend on the actions of your children, you are placing your happiness in the hands of others. This is a psychological trap that leaves you feeling empty and hurt. You do not need to beg for attention or try to prove that you deserve love. If someone cannot see your worth, that is their problem, not yours. Respect is not something that can be demanded or bought. It is something you create from the way you live. When you are confident in your worth, when you do not allow the shallow actions of others to shake your self-respect, you are sending a powerful message. You deserve to be respected, and you do not need anyone to validate that. Start by changing the way you view yourself. You are not an old person who has been forgotten. You are a person with experience, with life lessons, with valuable insights that the younger generations need to learn from. You do not need someone to always be by your side to feel important. Your happiness does not come from your children's attention, but from the way you treat yourself. One day, your children may recognize what you have done for them. But if that day has not come, it does not diminish your worth. Because the only person who can decide your worth is you. The best way to teach your children to respect you is not through blaming, not through complaining, nor by forcing them to change. True respect does not come from words, but from actions. The more you try to demand attention, the more you express disappointment or hurt, the more your children are likely to distance themselves from you. However, if you live with self-esteem and a strong sense of self-respect, they will automatically learn from you. Instead of blaming them for not calling, continue to enjoy your own life. Instead of complaining that they don't spend time with you, Focus on the things that make you happy. When children see that you are still living joyfully, strongly, treating others with kindness, and maintaining your values, they will gradually understand the most important lesson. Respect is not something that can be demanded, but something built through the way you live. Show them that you do not need anyone's attention to feel worthy. When you respect yourself, when you do not let your children's distance take away your joy of living, you are teaching them a greater lesson than any verbal instruction. One day, they will look back and realize that it was your calmness, your ability to uphold your dignity and peace that changed their perception of you. Be a role model for your children, not through complaints, but by living a life worthy of respect from others. If they do not recognize your value right now, let time teach them that lesson. Because the most important thing is not how someone treats you, but how you choose to live your life. You cannot control how your children treat you, but you can control how you build your own life. If they no longer spend much time with you, if their concern for you is not what it used to be, don't let that become a source of loneliness or sadness. Instead of waiting for a relationship that is fading, take the initiative to create new connections, seeking out those who truly appreciate you. There are many people out there who are willing to listen, share, and accompany you. They could be old friends, neighbors, a community group, or even a new community you hadn't thought of before. Building new relationships doesn't mean replacing the affection you have for your children, but rather expanding your world, seeking those who can bring you empathy and joy. You don't need to depend on your children's attention to feel worthy. When you invest time in positive relationships, when you are with those who truly love and respect you, you will realize that life remains meaningful, no matter how your children treat you. Most importantly, hold on to your self-worth. Don't lose your self-esteem because of anyone's distance or indifference. You are not someone seeking validation. You are someone creating a meaningful life for yourself. When you stop expecting what others can do for you and start focusing on what you can do to make your life better, you will find that peace and happiness have never left you. Age does not diminish your worth. No distance, no indifference, no disrespect can erase what you have experienced, the lessons you have learned, and the strength you have built throughout your life. Your value does not lie in how many times someone remembers you, calls you, or visits you. It lies in how you live, in the consistency, dignity, and self-respect that you carry every day. If your children or anyone else does not recognize your worth, that is their problem, not yours. You do not need to beg for respect. You do not need to chase after recognition. You are not a burden, and you are not invisible. The strength you possess, the resilience you have cultivated, and the kindness you continue to extend are proof that you have always mattered, whether someone sees it or not. So, stand tall, hold your head high. Do not let anyone's behavior determine your happiness or self-esteem. Live powerfully, love genuinely, and walk your path with serenity and a firm belief in your worth. Because ultimately, how you live is what matters most. This life is yours. Take control of it. Enjoy it. And never let anyone make you feel less valuable than what you truly deserve.